How are y'all feeling from yesterday? I kind of left you just like, hey, wham, bam, thank you, everybody, and boom, jumped off the call, and it was kind of like, I think I might have left some people in the lurch. So that's over there, good. So that's good there. So any questions on yesterday? Let's just jump right into conversations and questions. If anybody's got questions about yesterday, I know some of y'all have watched the replay already. Thank you for that. Thank you for your comments, Monique, and who else was there? Oh, Steffi, thank you. Any questions about yesterday's conversation? And I'm glad Leslie gets to join us. She didn't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning. No questions about yesterday? Okay. No worries. So,
good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Fauto.
And I didn't know if you saw it. But for yesterday's call, I jumped on late because I didn't know you were gonna start earlier. So I caught like the last 2 minutes.
Okay.
That was when you said, if you're still in bed, something, you're not aligned, or if you're still tired, when you slept more than 3 to 4 hours, you're not aligned. You said something like that, and that was kind of something that hit me, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. and it was like, but what do you mean? Can you like elaborate on that?
Sure. It's like, yes. Yeah, so what I was sharing is that if I would encourage you to go back and watch the replay. So yeah. So go there. But here's what I meant by that particular statement. Mm-hmm. Yesterday was just a brain drain, and mm-hmm. I don't say a brain drain for me at the event, and because when you take 17 pages of notes in listening and conversation, and then the way my brain works, you get very tired. I say all of that to say this. If you go to bed and you're exhausted and you wake up exhausted, there's something not right. Mm-hmm. Your body should have a chance when it goes to sleep. When you go to sleep, you should sleep. Now, science and research shows that we get into what's called not the circadian cycle, but you get into the sleep cycle. There's 4 stages, and deep reparative sleep is stage 4, and it's about 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get there, you will rest, but you won't sleep. And the reason that it's hard to sleep is because you're not in alignment with what you're doing. Your brain is constantly in this fodder situation. You ever seen a wood chipper chip up logs?
Yes.
Okay. That's what our brain is trying to do with everything that happens during the day. Mm-hmm. And it's constantly chipping it up, and it's turning all of this big ideas into, and it's separating them into all of these little things that mean really not a whole lot. Because what do they do with the wood chips? Typically, they'll just take them to the dump, or they burn them for fuel. Mm. So all of these little pieces that wind up. So if you went to the grocery store yesterday, mm-hmm. your brain doesn't see you going to the grocery store. It sees you looking at all of the food that you wanted to eat that you didn't buy. It sees you looking at the people who are around you that are either you have a perception, this is all at a subconscious level, that they're better than you, they're not as good as you. What are they doing here shopping? What are they buying? And now your brain has to sort all of that stuff out throughout the entire day. And it takes these big ideas going shopping and turns it into all of those little wood chips, those splinters. If you're in alignment with going shopping is just part of the process of your bigger goal, the brain doesn't have to worry about it. It knows this is just part of it. Me doing this call early. So here's an example. I was fretting doing the call earlier than I normally do at 8:30 on the weekend, because I had set up a routine for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so there was a part of me that I had to, in meditation last night before I went to bed, I had to come to grips with that. Okay. So it's important that, and then I slept for 4 hours. If I didn't, I wouldn't have slept at all. So because I was out of alignment with the pattern. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when you get into alignment, anything can change. It doesn't matter what bus you get on if you know where the bus is going. Doesn't matter what plane you get on, what airline you get on, what taxi cab you get in. Have you ever been ridden in an Uber? Have you ever called for an Uber?
Yes.
Did you ever ask the driver what their what's the thing you call Geminis and Aries and Pisces? What's
Horoscope.
that? Yeah. Did you ever ask them what their horoscope sign was?
I don't recall. No, I probably not, unless they
No.
asked me.
But you in your dream, before you go to sleep will want to know, in this example, not only what horoscope sign they are, what day they were born on, what moon they were born under, what you'll ask 1,001 questions in your dreams if you're not in alignment, because would all of us say that there's things in our life that we really don't care about, that come into our life that really don't affect us one way or the other? Really, they're not part of our bigger goal, but yet we ruminate on them, we stew over them, and that's what happens. That's why we can't sleep. That's why sleep is such a huge issue in this country. That's why the sleep pill industry, the drugs for sleeping, is like a $30 billion a year industry. To go to sleep, everybody's exhausted. Why is it so hard to go to sleep? Because we're only resting. We're not sleeping.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Does that help?
Absolutely.
And if you got that from the last 2 minutes, the other 45 minutes, because it was only like 49-minute call, I think sit down, buckle up, and make sure you got a notebook.
Okay, so last question.
Sure.
What do you like when you meditate before you go to bed, and you get back into alignment and you make peace with making the decision? Like, do you write before you go to bed? Do you talk to yourself? Do you pray? Like, can you elaborate on that?
So while I was sitting on the couch with my bride and the puppies, I was thinking, well, I want to go at 7:30. That'll give me an hour, right? 7:30 to 8:30. Then I was like, no, here's where the biggest problem was, Fatu, was that, well, I can go early. I mean, I do it at 6:30 in the morning. I get up at 4. I could do it at 7:15. That would give me like from 7:15 to 8:15, then like 15 minutes to not run out of the house. I'd be taking care of me. No, you can't do that. You got to push it to the limit. I'm like, no, but I choose not to. So I had to, I was going from 8:30 when I normally went to 7:30. And that was and then I wanted to give myself 15 minutes of space. I almost couldn't go to sleep on 15 minutes.
Wow.
Why? Because I care too much for you guys. I don't want to inconvenience you. Then a big voice came to me yesterday and said, you were at this event yesterday, and do you realize who came up to you? I mean, the poobahs of the poobahs all came over to me and said hello, and I miss you. It's good to see you. I love just watching what you're doing. And a part of me said, why are they watching me? And then another voice inside of me said, because you're freaking worth watching. And so in saying that to myself, I said, I can give myself 15 minutes. You know what? Then here's how I justified it. Well, it's going to be recorded.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm sharing this with you because this is me. This is the guy that, you all are coming to listen to for wisdom or nuggets, or to go, we're just showing up to see what goofy shirt you got on, whatever the reason is. But that's how my brain works. And that's how I felt I was inconveniencing you all on a Sunday, which then I went, no, they're East Coast time. So if I'm doing it at 7:15, it's 8:15. I'm giving them half of their morning back. You see how my brain works? I didn't want to make you feel bad. Now, Monique's here in Texas, and so she had to get up earlier. But I say all of that to say this. I had to sit with myself last night over an hour and 15 minutes of a change. I got 17 pages of notes that I can go through here to share with you. I've got 5 journals over there. I've got more knowledge from my own world and more experience I can share with you. And I was getting nervous, didn't quite get the knot in my stomach, but I was getting nervous over asking you guys to change, to give me an hour and 15 minutes of my day back.
Okay.
It gets that finite when you start to look at the bigger picture. So then I had to go back in my meditation. I had to say, why are we doing this call at all? I've been doing it a year and a half. Why are we doing this call at all? Why don't you just stop? That was part of it. Why don't you just avoid this frustration and stop it? You just yesterday was your last day. You don't owe them anything. This is the other side of the mind. You don't owe them anything. This is all no fee. It's not like they paid you to show up here. And then you got the good angel and the bad angel. How many of you ever had the good angel and the bad angel?
Yeah.
Type G and B in the chat, the 9 of you, because I know we've all had it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this happens every day. And the bigger picture is that what you owe them, if they've come to your well, you owe that. Listen, this is just downloading. You owe them to have your well full and your well clean. See, you can go to somebody's well and not drink the water. There's a lot of people out there like that. See, I'll show up on a Gary Vaynerchuk video, and his well is pretty good till the F-bombs start coming out. Now, I'll listen through that because I've got an F-bomb filter, but some days it's just his intent behind that word, the vibration behind the words he uses, make the well unclean for me. So I needed to show up here. Yeah. All right. I'll do the freaking call at 7:30. You know what? Damn it. It really doesn't matter what they think. It matters what everybody thinks. So the only way I could get over that of not having you guys mad at me, which is what that really comes down to, is this disbelief that you'd be mad at me or think less of me. I had to deal with that. I had to get back into my lane, right? Addiction to approval. I had to get back into my lane, focus on my bigger goal of leaving a legacy for 600 generations, and say, what a cheapskate if I only ended on episode 359 instead of putting a 0 behind it. So funny that you bring that up because it happens to all of us. Does that help with the explanation?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing.
You bet. And again, listen, I'm as open as, listen, sometimes I turn pages in my own book and we read it together. This was one of those moments.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. Anyone else about yesterday before I go into some notes from today? Good morning, Bob.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Outstanding.
I knew you would say that. Of course, there's predictability and there's an ability to count on someone. And I just wanted to share a thought. Last night, just before I laid down to go to bed, I was just looking at some things on Facebook, and Eric Worre had put a post up, and he had shared about basically to cut it down, work ethic, and how lacking people are in work ethic and wanting something for nothing. And how when he was building his business, he started before others, worked later than others, did things that others weren't willing to do. And it just reflected on my own mind that throughout my life, the most significant things that I did, the most difficult challenges I overcame, were because I was willing to do more than the normal person was willing to do. And what you were just sharing there reflects who you are someone who's not only willing, but wants to do more than the normal person, because the normal person isn't going to do what you do as consistently as you're doing, making an impact and sharing with other people. And I think if we all understand that if we want more, we need to be more, do more, in order so that we can give more to other people and have more ourselves.
I appreciate that, Bob. Absolutely. Yeah. And here's the thing is, when we do more, if we actually do less, it'll give us a chance to do more so that we can have all that we want. You're absolutely right. Thanks for sharing that, brother.
You have a wonderful rest of your event.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. So, any other questions about yesterday? Cool. So here's how yesterday started for me. Oh, that's Monday. Gig Summit. So listen carefully. How many of us have been to meetings? How many of us have been to an event? This is me speaking. This is what was going on in this brainiac up here. Here's the thing that happened. Here's the questions right from the get-go. Everybody said, welcome to this event. And I'm looking around, and is it size of people that determine if something's a meeting or an event? Is it the number of days that determines if something's a meeting or an event? Or is it the mindset that determines if something's a meeting or an event? So here's the first thing I wrote down in my book, right? So you get to see it. Let's see here. I can't tell if that's in focus. I think it is because I took my glasses off. Is this a meeting or an event? Is this an event? Listen carefully. Or a moment? Is this a moment or a historical date? Now, you can write those down. I really need you to look at those sentences, because you're about to sit down today with your family, with your friends, with a prospect, with coworkers. What would change? What would change in your life if you made the decision of what the event was, what the moment was, what the meeting was? Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to, on your paperwork, I need you to write down the date, and I need you to write down the time where you're at. Because when they talk about historical moments in time, when we talk about 9/11, we can tell you the exact minute the planes went into the buildings. That is a historical event. Some of you may not have been born yet, but many of you could tell me where you were. And if you weren't of the age of memory, you were told where you were. Some of you live in New York. There's conversations about that all the time that still happen. I can tell you where I was. I was in a citrus plant outside of Winter Haven, Florida. I was in the chiller room, the storage room where they store the orange juice, looking at a sanitary pump. It's a little stainless steel pump that breaks apart so that they can put they can wash it out every time, right? Because we're talking about food stuff. And I was kneeling down between the pumps. I could feel the coldness from both of the chillers on either side of me. And you're kind of wedged in there. They're a little bit farther apart than my shoulders, these 5,000-gallon tanks of orange juice. And the superintendent who was standing over me as I was looking at his pump gets a phone call from his wife. And he says, "What? Wait a second. I don't know if it's a bad reception. What did you just say?" Oh my God. Oh my God. This is word for word. This was however many years ago. 17 years ago? And then he hangs up the phone and he says, a plane just flew into the Twin Towers. This was the first plane. Second one hadn't hit yet. And we then had a conversation that allowed us to be friends for the rest of our lives because we were at a historical moment in time. Never met the guy before. I can tell you exactly the moment. Here's my point. When you give a presentation, when you have a conversation, is it a throwaway conversation? How much of your life have you, quote, thrown away, right? That's what people talk about. That's just fodder. That's throwaway content. How many of your meetings have you not even been present for? How many of your events have you not even been present for? How many of you are parents and can remember the birth of your child? Now, moms, I'm guessing you could probably remember a little bit differently. Taylor, I love that picture. I love that picture. What a great smile. How many of you can remember the birth of your children? If you adopted children, how many can you remember the first time that you held them in your arms? If you've ever lost a child, you can tell me exactly what that feels like and what that moment was. Why do I share this? Why did that hit me from the very beginning? Because we were at a meeting, but it was an event. And then that's all it was. They just said, welcome to this event. Because it's 2 days, it's an event. I don't know what qualifies something as an event. I don't know when you can go from 4 hours to 8 hours, whether it's a meet, you know what I'm saying? But then it went a little bit farther. It went a little bit farther because, and I wrote down some of the dates in here. I don't know where it's at. Oh, February 21st, 1981. February 21st, 1981. It was the first time Larry ever did the $1 million training. The millionaire training. Why does he remember February 21st, 1981? That was the start of phase 2 of our network marketing industry. There's 4 phases to network marketing, the history of the industry. Larry started phase 2. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but he knows the exact date because that's the first time he ever gave that presentation. It was the only time he ever gave that presentation. All right? How many times did we have to have Pearl Harbor invaded to remember it? Just once. A day that will live in what? Infamy. Why is that so important? Because it took lives. Listen, some of you may go, well, this is just bizarre. When you're not present with a prospect, is it possible you could be taking their life away from them? If you're not present, if you've ever sat there and said, this would be so good for them, then by gosh, make it better for them. Listen, we're in the first 3 lines. This is 17 pages of this that goes on in my head. You follow me? Let's go back to page 1. So when will you decide you are not? Oh, when will you decide? Or, what does it say? When you decide what you are, and it will decide your results. When you decide who you are, it will decide your results. The challenge is too many of us are trying to worry about results and we're not getting them. All of you want to rank advance in your company. All of you want to be healthier, go to the gym more, do something, have more income. You're trying to worry about the results and you haven't made the decision of who you are yet. If law of attraction, how many of you believe in law of attraction? Congratulations, where you're at, it's your fault. You've attracted all of this in there right now. Oh, well, now you're wrong. Okay. You're right. I'm rich. Let's move on. You can't have your cake and eat it too if you're not going to believe that where you're at right now is the process of your results. I mean, your thoughts. Your results are your thoughts. Somebody lost 300 pounds. She lost like two teenage people. 2 teenagers she gave back to the universe. Monique, she made a decision. What did Michael Jordan say yesterday? Once I made a decision, I didn't have to think about it again. If you're dealing with needing to wake up, if you're dealing with challenges, if you're dealing with not sleeping, that's your decision. Screw the $30 billion sleep market and take time to meditate yourself. Not medicate, meditate yourself. My bride was at an event with Oprah Winfrey, and she said, the best way out is to go through yourself. How many of us, the best way out is to go in? But to get through anything, you got to go through yourself first. Ooh, snap. What is then my brain goes, what's the definition of a meeting? What's the definition of an event? What's the definition of a moment? What's the definition of a historical moment? I'd encourage you to figure out what those definitions are for you. Because how many of you can remember? Listen, I remember it was August 11th. I'm trying to remember the time. It was my mom's birthday that I had my first meeting in this profession 22 years ago. Now it wasn't a historical date at the moment, but it was an event because the people that showed up at my house, I asked them, when are they leaving before I said hello? It was an event because I had been around this profession. I had been a customer of the profession for 2 years already, of like 17 different companies, because all of the people I worked for, my customers, were in that business. Because they were presented the bikinis and Lamborghini presentation about making a bunch of money. So they got in and they could leverage me because they used to do hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business with me on an annual basis. They said, listen, I need you to become a customer of mine. I'm rank advancing. I had no idea what that was. So I had a very poor taste for 2 years with a warehouse. Literally, my brother and I were like customers of 50 people. Because he would ask me before he would go on a sales call, are you a customer of theirs? And we knew what that meant. Because if not, we would use that in our presentation. Hey, listen, do you do any of those side things? Do you do any of those network marketing things? Well, yes, I do. Which one are you a part of? Well, I'm a part of Herbalife. I'm a part of Amway. I'm a part of New Skin. Geez, my wife was looking for that stuff. Can I get stuff from you? Yes. And while you're signing that, sign this purchase order. We would leverage it. We would know. And we literally had a part of our warehouse that was called customer acquisition. Now, we didn't lock it up like we did the rest of our important stuff because we hoped the employees would take it. We never opened the boxes. We would send our employees out to the warehouse going, anybody want skincare? We just got a whole shipment of skincare in here. Like between the 1st and the 5th is when the auto ships would show up. And we used it as like employee benefits. How stupid was I? But that was the presentation. That was the thought. That's how I saw it. How many times have you thought about changing everything? Or are you trying to look at changing bits and pieces of your life? See, what Michael Jordan, when I made a decision, I didn't have to ever think about it again. How many times have you thought about a little more money? Stop thinking about it. What actions would you have to take? What historical date would have to happen in your life for you to no longer have to think about a little more money? What decision would you have to put in place to answer that question for the rest of your life? Just a little more money. If we use Jim Rohn's philosophy, you don't get paid by the hour, you get paid by the value, and they determine how much that value is worth. Bring more value to the marketplace, become more valuable to valuable people. Who do you follow that you wish? Oh, here's a good one. Ugh. So Bobby Depew was the architect of network marketing. When Larry Thompson went to an event, and it was all guys in white shoes and three-piece suits and Cadillacs and cigar smoking and whiskey drinking. And literally, this was network marketing in the late 60s. 53 years ago is when Larry went to an event. And Bobby Depew said at the very end of it, he says, listen, we've made a lot of money. Listen carefully. But what if it only worked 10% for you? Larry said, I could do that. 10% would give me a pretty darn good living, as opposed to trying to think, well, I could never do what they do, but 10% of what they do, I could probably do that. So he said that whole story. Here's how my brain works, giving you a little insight into the hamster wheel. Listen carefully. This is going to be a tough one. Who do you follow right now that you wish you could earn 10% of their income? Who do you have access to that you wish you could just earn 10% of their income? Are you doing what they're doing? Are you listening to what they're listening to? Are you eating what they're eating? Are you wearing what they're wearing? Are you driving what they're driving? In your mind? And then you got to ask yourself this question. Are they doing what they're doing, whoever this is you'd be following? Would you be comfortable doing it the same way? Because that's what you're going to have to do to earn 10% of what they got. Otherwise, you don't need to follow the way they do it. I was listening to this morning, it just popped up on my feed on Instagram. Mr. T.D. Jakes. And he says this. He says, you're not going to get a vision on the level you are. You can't see your dreams because you're living on the level of your problems. You got to climb out of the place you can so you can see beyond your problems. This is so good, I'm going to buy this CD myself, he goes on to say. You can't get a vision on the level of your problems. Einstein said it this way: the problems that are man-made can't be solved by the same mind that created them. So all of these goals, all of these dreams, all of these affirmations, all of these affirmations and all of these notes that you're writing and all of these pages that you're writing and all of these things you put on your walls, you can't put them on the walls with the same mindset of the problems that you have, that you hope those words are going to fix it. If words have power, and they do, here's a tough one that's just downloaded. Why are your words not working? Well, Sean, you don't, I mean, they are working. Are you happier? Do you sleep better? Are your relationships getting better? Are your connections with prospects getting better? Do you have to say a whole hell of a lot less when you're at an event, at a meeting, at a one-on-one? Or are you still doing all the talking? Do people just come over to you and say, what do you do? You know why they might not be coming over to ask what you do? Because they look at you and they don't want to feel the way you feel. I'm blessed that I'm like a 2-year-old when I get into an event with my friends. I'm like, they're here. This is me inside. They're here. Oh my gosh, they're here. There's Jeff. Oh my God, there's Jeff. Oh my God, there's Dan. There's Dan. Oh my God, there's Brian. Oh my gosh, they're here. They came to see me. Yeah, I know this is being recorded. Monique is here. Danielle is here. Oh my gosh, Michelle is here. Hi, Michelle. Fato is here. Taylor's here. Oh my, Bob Kane is here. Bob Parks is here. Oh my gosh. Elijah's here. Crystal made it. I'm so excited. My friends are showing up. I'm like that kid who has a birthday party thinking nobody's going to show up. And then when you do, I'm like that puppy dog. My tail can't stop wagging. If I had a tail, nobody could stand like anywhere behind me. It's like a Labrador tail, that thing made for swimming. It'll clear a coffee table in a heartbeat. Where does that excitement come from? Because I anticipate it. I'm in joy. I'm clear on my message. I don't have to have, well, I wonder what they're going to think. What are they wearing? So who do you follow that you wish you could have 10% of their income? Are you letting them influence you? Because if you're listening to people who have less money than you, well, Jim Rohn would say that's a clue. Listen, do they have people of significant influence in their life? Ooh. Those people that you're following of 10%, listen, if you're a faith-based person and you believe in the word and you listen to the Holy Spirit and you talk to them and they're not, you got a conflict. Because their words ain't coming from the same source that you're counting on. Just saying. If you want to get clear, if you want to get out of the mess you're in, you may have to look at the mess you're in. If you don't have anyone, if they don't, your prospect. Okay, so your prospect, listen. If they don't have anyone they can learn from, your prospect is hoping that they can learn from you. If you just beat them over the head with facts and figures and nomenclature that they're not aware of to show how smart you are, they don't need to have somebody that's smarter than them. Listen, they need to have somebody that they can learn from. Is your team learning from you? What's your team learning from you today? Are they going to learn? You should have been on Sean's call this morning. That's injected values. Can you go back to them and say, hey, listen, what was that thing that you wanted in your life? What was that goal that you talked to me? And you may know it better than they know it. But you ask them, what's that goal that you wanted? What's that thing you want to get done in the next 30 days? I think I heard something this morning. Well, I want to do this. Why? We talked about that on the call this morning. When do you have 15 minutes we can sit down and put the plan together to make that happen? Because I think I heard the answer this morning for you. I was listening for you this morning. How many of you are listening for your team? You just happen to be the focal point, the funnel that it's coming through. You're listening for you, but how many of you, listen, if you're planning on building a team, type a T in the chat. So all of these people, if you're building a team, if you want to build a team, then who are you listening for? You're taking notes for yourself. Why are you being selfish? You're being self-full. I get that. But you've got to be selfish, and you've got to be able to ask in such a way that allows people to learn from you. And listen, how many of you were ever in AP classes? I don't have to explain what that is, because if you were in it, you know what that is. I was in the elements classes. You know what that means? There's the elements class, there's the regular class, and then there's the AP class. I was in the one below, I was below average. They call them on level. I was below level. You know what? Do you think the below level was taught different stuff than the AP class? How many of you teach in AP classes and you've got to teach people the below level how to get your dreams back to life? And you're trying to show them your wisdom and your wickedness that you understand. You are just totally wicked in this understanding. Man, that's wicked. That is so awesome. You're on fire. Well, who the hell wants to be on fire? We're on the start of page 2. Listen, here's a good one. Who is your 10% income target? Who in your life right now would you want to earn 10% of their income? And when you look at who that is, make sure it's that you don't have to keep changing that. Could it be a Richard Branson? Could it be a Mother Teresa? Well, Mother Teresa was broke. Really? You should do some more work, research. Somebody that wherever she lands in country has 8 jets, anywhere between 5 and 8 jets light up with pilots on board. Because when they ask her, Mother Teresa, where would you like to go? She can go anywhere in the world. How many of you could go anywhere in the world in your little white habit, in your little 4-foot frame? She wanted to put a center for drug addiction in New York. And for 3 years, there was a discrepancy over this particular building. It was $200,000 that they were trying to figure out, and this, that, and the other. And she said, I would like that. In 45 minutes, the paperwork was done. How big is your vision that excuses disappear? Ooh, y'all ready for this one? Again, this is the top of page 2. What is different today compared to the story you talk about in your life? A lot of us are hung up on our old story. A lot of us are old story, mine included, right? I talked to you this morning about how my perception of how I was going to offend you, that's what it comes out to me. I'm going to offend you by asking you to come to the call an hour early. So I have to still deal with my old story today. And I work at this a lot. What's the difference between today and the old story you tell? So here's the notes. Are there opportunities today that were not around when your story was told? When the original story that happened to you and through you that kind of holds us back, the big one. Are there new opportunities today to help you deal with that, to help you work through that weren't available back then? Is there people that you can talk to, communities that you can be a part of? Because I would encourage you to participate in those, because you now have new solutions to the old story, but we keep telling the old story, staying stuck in it. Some of you have a 1934 Model A Ford, and you're trying to find parts for your old story to keep it alive, when you may just need to go get a new mode of transportation so you can get out of that old story. How many of you have a car right now you wish you could go get a new car? Some of us buy new cars faster than we buy our new stories. Middle of page 2. What tools are you not implementing to change your story? What does this moment, who typed sheesh? I guess. Leo.
I hear you, Leo. That one hurt.
What does this moment mean to you right now? Leo, you type sheesh. What does this moment mean to you? B, don't let this moment slide away. Don't let this moment get away from you. What does this moment mean to you? It awakened something. We triggered something. We opened up the windows to the old car and we let that air out and the car finally went, ah. If you want to chat about it, come on.
Hey, good morning, Sean.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, RBP.
Hi,
and everybody
Leo.
on the call. I'm just taking a moment just to collect my thoughts. Sean, you it's crazy. I always find a way. It's not crazy. It's just it's timing. always find a way on the call, like what you just said a few minutes ago about someone not being on the call, and you share with them something that could, you know, in them. I feel like you just shared something that enlightened all of us. Sheesh was like that struck a chord. I don't buy cars, right? But you know, it's about the investment of self, you know, being
Leo, hold on just a second. Hang on.
selfless and
Hang on just a second, Leo.
and a lot of times we not be yeah.
Listen, the reason I'm asking you to hold on is because how many of us hear Leo's voice going back and forth? He's spoken how many times on this call, and his voice, his connection has always been clear. I'm pointing this out to say that every time we have a breakthrough and people want to talk, how many times does their signal get screwed up? Leo, your signal's getting screwed up. Not because you are, it's because you're getting so clear. You're literally changing the power in your house. You're changing the energy in your connection. You guys hear this every single time. Every single time somebody's having a breakthrough and they share that message, we all hear, man, they're going to say something good and it's getting broken up. It's because this is how the enemy works. We throw it off to technology. Technology's not working. No, it is disguising technology, not working so that you can go, oh, nobody heard my story. Oh, I guess it wasn't. What do we say? I guess it wasn't that important. It's that important that it gets screwed up.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Look, he's just talking now and it's not getting. Y'all get this? And when we get focused, when we get cleared back, when we bring this stuff up, as opposed to going, oh, we're not getting a connection, you need to stop and you need to know what is attacking you. And what's attacking you is the old story. It's going to, your brain is literally changing frequencies of the internet connection you're having right now.
100%. 100%.
See, there we go again. This dude has never had a connection that was bad. Y'all know that. You've all been on the call long enough. Leo's connection is always good. He's not living in a third world country with like 2 squirrels running around in a squirrel cage trying to create electricity. And yet he just types sheesh and he starts to talk. He starts to present, and the that thing shows up and it's going, his connection's all getting warbled. Y'all need to pay attention to this, because when you lose connection, it ain't you losing connection. It's the enemy showing up. So let's try this again. What?
Is there a mic I can
Look, Leo, you there, buddy?
He's right.
He's right.
Yes, I'm right here. I am just writing the last thought that you just said. The enemy shows up. Okay, perfect. Because that is so real and so vivid and yet so true. So yeah, I think I'm just coming to the realization that we are more powerful than what we think we are. And when you had said what you said, why we do want something, but yet don't have maybe the willpower or the focus to do it. And a lot of times we have I know for me, like this inner commentary that that tells me to stay focused, that I can be focused, yet I do have a lot of things that come up in my life, like just certain little distractions. Don't feed that often, but when I do, it makes me feel really terrible. Or invest in ourselves. We change our cars when we change our story. And now I'm like, wow, I really have to change my story. Like I really have to change my story around why why sometimes maybe I don't pick up the phone when I should to call someone and share with them about how wonderful this business is. Because I feel that I'm exposing myself. Because then now the world will know that I'm in network marketing. Um, and yeah, I'm lost for words and thoughts right now because it's just hitting me, and I'm trying to put it all together. But I've done a lot of the end that today. So with what you're saying, Sean, it struck a chord with me on changing my story around why sometimes I don't do what I should be doing, and yeah, I'm here listening. I'm here feeling it and just resonating with it.
Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for having the courage to share. And so here's something I want to bring into the consciousness of everybody. We've all been on conference calls. We've all been on Zooms where somebody's call goes sideways, right? Where the message gets lost. And when the message gets lost or we get broken up, and what is the typical reaction for us who are sitting here watching this when we're on a conference call and somebody's talking just like Leo was talking, and the audio cuts out, the connection gets all warbly? Do we get excited or do we get kind of sad or mad or frustrated? Listen carefully. We have a tendency to go, oh, they got a bad connection. They should just, why are they keep talking? They should shut up. They don't know they got a bad connection. Somebody stop that. That's aggravating to listen to. Listen carefully. Isn't that creating a chorus of despair? You see how funny the enemy works? It gets everybody who's on a call. You got 300 people on a call. You go to Nano's call on the weekdays and you get 400 or 500 people on a call, and somebody calls in and you got 400 people listening. You got 400 people listening to his call, and somebody gets on and they get Nano, and everybody's like, oh, geez, somebody just tell him to shut up. They should have a better connection. And you got all of a sudden 399 people all pissed off because one person's connection's bad. Y'all should be jumping up and down for joy because that breakthrough is about to get broken through, and the enemy works in such a way that it goes, I need to get all of these people against them. You know how hard it is for somebody to work against 399 people when they're having a breakthrough, when Leo's having a breakthrough, and all of a sudden there's 19 of us on the call and everybody's going, oh, his message is bad. His message is perfect. His connection is bad because it ain't him. It's the enemy. And we all jump on the enemy train going, well, what's going on with Leo's stuff today? His connection's always good. His connection's always good. With this, Leo, hang up and call back. How many of you heard me going, Leo, stop, Leo, stop, Leo, stop? And it was like 30 seconds into the call, he goes, oh, okay. That's how much disconnection there was. And we all get frustrated with the person who has a bad connection. It ain't their fault. It's the enemy sneaking in. If you listen to Conversations with the Devil, they use everything we have to stop us from having all that we want. And we give it another name. We call it a bad internet connection, and the enemy's going, and then we get another 19 people or 90 people or 100 people going, these people should know they should be in a good place when they want to say a message. They need to, and we come up with 1,001 reasons why they're not good enough. They're having a freaking breakthrough.
You're freaking on point. Good God Almighty.
They're having a freaking breakthrough, and we're going, stop it. And we're blaming the internet connection when we should be blaming the enemy.
Woo. I'm going to clap for y'all. That's right.
Y'all get that?
Holy.
Listen, when you get to the other side, when you get to the place to where you know that you're going to be attacked on a regular basis, it ain't the person attacking you. It's the way the enemy uses people around you of influence. Sometimes it's the preacher. You're not good enough. You should be talking to more people. You should be selling more people. You should be doing a presentation every day. You need to talk to 10 people a day. That's just a method. But if it makes you feel bad, that ain't the message. I've just been Murphinated. I love you, Dana.
Dana.
Murphyinated. Leo, how you feeling, brother? 8:30-ish.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling much better. a minute later, and I'm feeling so much better. I'm definitely Murphy-ated, and
I love it.
I'm just reflecting. I'm reflecting on my feelings right now and my thoughts. I really want this. I really, really want it.
So then listen carefully. Listen carefully.
I desire it every day. I'm thinking.
So you ready to hear something? Look at that. He's gone. He's gone. There he is. He's back. Here's a tough question. Would your mom want you to want it or want you to have it?
Oh, that's what I'm
Oof.
here for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what's hitting me, Leo. This is what's hitting me.
Yes, please talk to me.
So feelings are one thing, and resolve is another. So it would be the equivalent of if I came up to you and I took one dance class and then I expected myself to be able to go out and win the dance competition. And then I go out and go to a dance competition and I lose because I've had one class.
Right.
Do I decide that I'm a horrible dancer then? Or do I realize I got to have more? Do I decide to throw the towel in because I've only had one class, or do I have to have more education? And what I mean by that is the way I feel because I lost the dance competition, does that determine my resolve? You either are resolved to complete change and nothing will steer you. That's what Michael Jordan meant by, I decided and I never had to think about it again. And this hit me this morning as I was upstairs getting ready. Am I still deciding? Am I still thinking about it? Or have I come to a complete resolve that this change has happened and I'm stepping into the change? Will I be swayed by my feelings? Or have I got my mind completely set and I'm resolved that this is happening? When I stood in that room yesterday with Sean, among leaders that in all sense and purposes, I have not attained anything close to what they have attained. Was I going to shrink because of my feelings? Was I going to shrink because I kept hearing whispers of, you haven't done that, you haven't done that, you haven't done that. Those people aren't speaking to you. Those people have introduced you. You haven't had this, you haven't had this. Or did I decide to just lean up against the wall, soak in the greatness that was in this room and realize I am right where I'm supposed to be and I do deserve to be there and I'm worthy of being there and I have hit a resolve that this is the door I have walked through and I'm supposed to remain in until the next door opens. So it's a resolve. It's setting aside my feelings of lack and inadequacy and worry and concern, and it is deciding, there's that deciding, it is deciding that I am completely resolved to what's happening in me, for me, and through me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the way that the little East Texas stay-at-home mama can stand there when some multimillionaire walks up to me and goes, "So hi, what do you do?" And I shake their hand and I tell them my name and I say, "I'm a stay-at-home mom." And I end the conversation there. I don't have to keep going. I'm a stay-at-home mom who's trying to make it in network marketing, who's in this business. And, this, I am resolved that this has happened and that I am to be right there, right now, speaking to that person, loving that person, and letting whatever God has for them flow through me and into their ears and serving them, because that's where I've been put. No longer is it a question. No longer is it I need their validation. I don't need any of that. I am right where I'm supposed to be. And nothing can change that. And that's where you're getting there, and you're just a decision away. It's just one decision. Cut off that worry, cut off that concern. Don't listen to those emotions that will sway you. Emotions, although they feel real, are a lot of times fake. Resolve that this is what God has given you, and this is what you are destined to do and are doing. That's just my 2 cents. So, okay, sorry. Yeah, it's terrible when I'm in-house.
No, Rhonda, that was spot on. No,
Yeah.
that was perfect. And I love I love how you're in your rocking chairs. It's so amazing.
I look like an old grandma over here.
That's where you get the wisdom. That's where all the wisdom is downloading from that rocking chair right now.
If I'm at home, he can
So
at least
amazing.
He can't mute me when I'm here.
I can lower the volume of my mic.
Then I'll just lean over and I'll talk.
So there you go, folks.
That was mhm.
Literally, just
That's
to
what
give you an
I think
idea.
I feel like we needed to hear. Mhm.
There was page 1. We got halfway through page 2.
Mhm. You got 7.
See, when you understand that your notes are your uncashed checks, I make sure that I cash my checks. I look at them again. And when you see the other colors in there, that was me going through them yesterday and putting the rest of the notes in there. Don't go through life not cashing your checks. So, any last comment or thought before we wrap it up? Because we got to head to Dodge and I got to go enjoy another. Now, today ends early, so I don't know if I'll get 17 pages of notes, but today's a little bit more meat on the bones than philosophy. So I may have more than enough notes. Any last thoughts or comments before we go?
I just want to say that this is the best call ever, because I feel like the universe sent you guys to talk to me in many ways and realized that I had breakthroughs. You had spoke about things that I needed to hear. Rhonda has spoke about things that I need to do, and it's just amazing. And I just want to keep it short because it's like I'm like letting everything flow through my mind and my body. Like I feel the energy, and it's just amazing. And I just wanted to let you guys know that usually, like when I have set an alarm, I would not wake up. And then today it was like, okay, Sean call. And it was just like something instantly, like I woke up. So that's why it means a lot to me, this call, because I look at the signs, I look at everything. And then what you guys are telling me, I'm not just like listening to it just to hear it. I'm dissecting it. I'm applying everything. And it's just like, oof, it's a breakthrough right now. But yeah.
That's awesome, girl. That's awesome. You're listening. You're hearing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
I
excited.
just want to say that I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We love you. Appreciate you. Priscilla, thank you. Appreciate you for sharing that. Brittany, thank you. So love you all. We appreciate you. Today's Sunday, right?
I think so.
So tomorrow is 6:30 a.m. And tomorrow we have a mastermind with all of the people who have kind of directed the industry. So tomorrow's going to be even a bigger day. So I'm glad I get to start early so that, yeah, we get to start it right. Yeah. So anyways, so there you go. Love you tons. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you go watch the replay. Leave a nice comment. I'd appreciate that. Make sure you follow me. And you may want to share this with somebody on your team so that you don't have to be the one. Here's what you should do. You could say, listen, you may get some value listening to this funny guy from Dallas, Texas. It meant a lot to me this morning. And let them hear it on your own, because this is what people are looking for. Do you have the information, the resources? Do you have the resources to share good things that happen in your life? So, yeah, I see the hands up. Stan, if it's quick, go ahead, because we've got a bolt. Go ahead, Stan. You can go.
Hey, I'm sorry. I know you guys gotta go. I just wanted to say real quick on when Leo was talking and he lost frequency, and you brought up how that's the enemy working. It hit me crazy because that really was the enemy working, and I have to start being more self-aware of when the enemy is working in my life. Like when the coffee spilled on my hand this morning, I didn't react the way I usually would. Like get really mad and make it ruin my morning, because that is the enemy working right there. And I'm gonna just keep it short right there. I'm definitely gonna talk on the field. Thank you for sharing.
I appreciate you, Stan. And Stan, be aware of this. It just started to cut out your signal again as you started talking. You said, listen, I just wanted to share. So, and Latoya, if you're still on.
Oh, real quick. I just want to say thank you all. Thank you for this call. I almost missed it, but I caught the conclusion of it. And yes, when your awareness is up, you will start realizing where the devil is trying to seep in the smallest cracks. But that's my takeaway. You all, I apologize. I'm keeping.
No, Latoya, no apologies. That's the enemy working. When you got to apologize for sharing goodness, don't apologize.
Okay. Yeah, I know, right? But thank you all, and you all have a great day. Knowing that you had to leave, so I want to just keep it short.
Love you tons. Thank you. Noah, go ahead.
Good morning, guys. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. I actually got to meet Latoya yesterday for the first time ever in person. It was wonderful. We're here in Atlanta with the team at an event. Here's Jesse. Here's a couple of our other team members. Everybody else is inside. But I just wanted to express how extremely grateful I am for these calls, for the people on these calls, the people I get to meet in person, the people I come in contact with on a daily basis, and just the value that I get from everybody, and the value that I'm able to then transfer to my team, and also put them on these calls and or the recordings. So I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you to the community. Thank you to everybody who's here on a consistent basis. And you guys are just helping me become better. So thank you.
Love you tons. Appreciate you, Noah. Thanks for being a leader. Thanks for making the world a better place. And love you tons, brother. All right, y'all, go watch the replay. There's a lot in there. And if you didn't get yesterday's, I'd encourage you to go watch. Today's the 16th. The 14th and the 15th are about 3 hours of the same message, but it was part 1, part 2. That one, make sure you could sit down with your team and you could play both of those and stop those on the exercises. And you can have an amazing team building event watching those videos and doing the exercises. So y'all have an amazing day. Love you tons. Appreciate y'all. Y'all say goodbye and love each other. I'm Sean Murphy, founder of Mental Profits. I'll see y'all where? At the next event. Love y'all.
Bye. Love you.
Love you guys.
Have a wonderful day.
Take care.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank y'all.